right? There's still this idea that women are supposed to be softer, that we're supposed to be more collaborative. I know as a woman, that is something I have to fight. When I walk into a room, I still need to prove myself. That's the $1,000,000 question. And I say that because the answer I'm going to give is the best honest answer, and it's going to be the most unsatisfying answer ever.
You mentioned that, people from all walks of life can do it, men and women. How much of it do you think relates to unconscious bias?
Oh, I think a lot of it. I think so much of it relates I think most of it relates to how we're raised, right? There's still this idea that women are supposed to be softer, that we're supposed to be more collaborative, that we are supposed to be caretakers. And some of that, I believe at least, is biological. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think actually when you look at female leadership, you see aspects of that expressed in the more collaborative nature of female leadership, right? So it's not a bad thing. It's just when those expectations or traits stand in the way of somebody being able to step into a position of authority or act with authority, or when somebody doesn't fit those characteristics and they're expected to meet those characteristics and they're punished for not being that way, that it really becomes problematic.
Revlon did this television series that was showing men in the workplace and women in the workplace with identical behaviours. And then underneath it was the interpretation of those behaviours. And one of them was exactly that, this man standing up and giving this rallying kind of thing in a meeting, and it was assertive. And a woman doing the same thing, aggressive. It was the exact example that was in that. Really interesting. What can we do as individuals and as leaders to develop more awareness of unconscious bias and then do something about it?
That's the $1,000,000 question. And I say that because the answer I'm going to give is the best honest answer, and it's going to be the most unsatisfying answer ever, which is we literally have to actively screen our reactions, right? So what that means in practicality is if I can maybe start simply by listing all the types of bias that exist. If I really wanted to be exhaustive, I could, at the end of a meeting, say, okay, where were there opportunities for this type of bias to present itself? Let me think back on my reactions, on my thoughts, on my beliefs, and let me challenge the potential bias. This assumption that a lot of women have, especially in the workforce, that in order to be of value, they have to be everything for everyone at all times, right? So it's the woman in the room who's always raising her hand, who's saying, I can do it. And if you work with this woman, you know her, she is essential to your team, to your office, to your business, because she is the one you go to when you need help. And she always says yes, right? And I might start looking at what are my assumptions about her when she says no, right? Do I even assume she's going to say no, or she has a right to say no, right? So being aware of a single bias and choosing to work on a single bias at a time. If you're listening to this, you can just say, well, maybe I'm going to choose to pay attention to that. You know, how do I judge women who don't pad their language? What labels have I affixed to somebody in my office who is very ambitious and is open about her ambition? What is my reaction to an email that comes in, and instead of saying, hey, Mick, thank you very much for your previous email. I hope your weekend has gone very well. You know, in regards to your other point, here are my thoughts. By the way, I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care. Versus, hey, Mick, here are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. I think it starts with just owning the fact that we're all biased. I don't care how unbiased you think you are biased. And then secondly, choosing one bias, one behavior, one type of interaction to work on at a time, instead of trying to be out of the blue, suddenly aware of everything and open to changing everything. It's too hard as a human. One of the things that we know is if you put a man and a woman on a stage with equal education, background, knowledge, experience, and professional presentation, as an audience member, male or female, we will assume the man is more of an authority, more of an expert. It just is. I know as a woman, that is something I have to fight. When I walk into a room, I still need to prove myself. I can't just say I am. I have to say I am, and here's how. Right. So a few years ago, I was hiring a new virtual assistant, and I was choosing among several candidates, and I had to stop because he kept on going towards this one male candidate. And I forced myself to stop and go, am I going towards him because he's a male, or am I going towards him because he's the most qualified candidate and the one with whom I have the best chemistry? Right? Because I think that's really important when you work with somebody, is see somebody I feel like I will be able to work with well. But just choosing to take that moment to pause. I think if we all did small things like that, we would be far better off. That doesn't mean that the bias won't express itself, but at least we're trying to become first more aware. Awareness gives us opportunity for change, then we can practice change.